Somebody once told me that you grow into your own advice. I started my business on day one proclaiming that I wanted to figure out how to work from a place of rest, not hustle. Now, hustle is my shotgun rider, my number one go-to, my arm-in-arm comrade. Hustle is a good thing and it serves a place in its season, but in the past for me, it has been the ultimate thing. Hustle's just not 24/7 sustainable. So I wondered, isn't there some kind of way that I can figure out how to work from a place of rest and Sabbath every week? Do I really need to be falling headfirst, exhausted into every single Monday after Monday after Monday? That said, today I want to dig into the surprising way that I learned I could make more money as a creative small business owner. Hey guys, welcome to episode 54 here on the Ashlyn Writes channel. My name is Ashlyn. I'm a conversion copywriter for creative entrepreneurs like you, which means I do like to talk about money because I love to figure out how we can ramp up your words to make you more sales in your business. But today I want to talk to you business owner to business owner and take you a little bit behind the scenes of some things that I have changed in my own creative small business to figure out how to ramp up our revenues and our profits. Specifically, one thing that completely took me off guard and surprised me. So like I said, when I started this business, the Lord put on my heart this idea of figuring out how to work from a place of rest. If you know my story at all, I have a background of being hospitalized for generalized anxiety, depression, and anorexia nervosa. So I come out of that and I realized I just wanted to work from a place of being able to pace myself a little bit more than I had in the past when I worked in corporate marketing. But my first year of business didn't quite look like I thought it would. I was still exhausted. I still worked all the time. So I want to talk to you about the change up that happened to make me figure out how to ramp up our profits, but also slow down a little bit more. If as I'm talking through these things, they start to strike a chord with you, then good news, I've got 2 freebies today for you to get your hands on. The first one, pop down below and you will see how you can get your hands on a download called 6 Signs You Need to Define Enough as a Creative and 7 Ways to Get Yourself Financially Set. Now, in addition to that, my dear friend and financial coach and business coach, Shanna is offering a video series all for you. It's for creatives to teach them how to bring basics back and budget a little bit better in your business. By the way, if you don't really love the word budget, just know that she actually calls it a spending plan, which sounds good to me. Okay, so let's now get into the 4 steps that I processed through as I realized this surprising thing I could do in my business to ramp up our profitability. The first step, get over the number one lie I believe so many creative entrepreneurs believe. And as I do this, I want you to hop down below in the comments section because I love chatting with you guys there, and comment and let me know what is one lie that you have bought into as a creative small business owner. There's so many out there, and I wonder if this one rings true for you as well. I've said it from the stage before as I've spoken at different conferences, but I really hate this lie that I think a lot of us are told when we start creative or more artsy-oriented small businesses. It's the lie that follow your heart, do what you love, do what you're passionate about, and the money will just follow. No, I don't think that's 100% true. Instead, that completely negates a lot of the laws of supply and demand that are just part of business. Just because we're creative and we happen to be doing something that makes us come alive, that we're extremely passionate about, that doesn't mean that we're exempt or immune to certain economic principles. I'll get into this more later, but I do just think it's so important that there's some kind of market gap fit that you have to fill. That said, I don't believe you make more money by working longer, harder hours than anybody else. I talked about that in last week's video and I'll link that below. I also don't believe that you ramp up your profitability and make more money sheerly by being the best that there is. But what I do know is that counterintuitively and surprisingly, you can make more money in your business by cutting down on a lot of things. There's a great case study, and it's been mentioned and cited in many publications, but in 1998, when Steve Jobs came back to lead Apple, he cut about 70% of the product line. In doing that, they then turned the year around and made so much more money the next year. Steve Jobs was brilliant and smart enough to know that if they just trimmed down to the bare essentials and focused on making those really, really killer, they would make more money. I'm not gonna get all into that. I will link some articles below on that. It's a fascinating case study if you got a little bit of time. But let's talk about how we can apply this to our creative small businesses. So back to where I am, I'm completely exhausted. I'm working all the time. But earlier on in my business, I started to realize that cut down principle was true, that we made more money if I cut down on certain things. My copywriting for creative students have heard me talk about it 100 million times. But this is what happened in my own business. As I trimmed my message, as I got really tight and specific and started speaking to a very small segment of the market, we made more money because the message was more clear and people understood, yep, I'm a fit, or nope, not for me, see you later. So as I looked around in my new business and realized I was exhausted because I was taking on so much work, I thought, what if I apply this cut down principle in other capacities of my business too? But what if I got gutsy and applied this to my time as well? What if I looked at the products and the services that I was offering to my clients and thought, how can I trim this list down too? How can I, instead of being a jack of all the writing trades, just offer a few things? I wanted to see if by doing that, we could grow the revenue. Step 2 in this journey, figure out the number that I believe all creatives need to know. Okay, so you're the boss. You get to write the paycheck, which means you get to decide what your paycheck is going to be. But if you're like most creatives, that number is pretty much just whatever's left over. I talk about efficiency all the time over here. I'm a little bit of a nerd about it, and I get asked a lot, how do I know if where I'm spending my time is worthwhile, is profitable for my business? And there's one thing I always say, you have got to know your hourly rate as the CEO of your business. If you don't know what your time is worth, you can't expect the world to know what your time is worth either. If you've ever felt kind of like I was, doing all the things or having to take on all the clients or do every type of work encompassed in a certain area of business, that those are the only things that are going to grow your revenue, then finding this little number can be a cure for that. Time out before I move to the next one though. We hold attention here. This thinking about like time as money, which is something we say a lot as entrepreneurs and as creatives, it only works if we zoom out and remember our broader calling as creatives. It's that people are always a good use of our time. And work is a good thing, but it is not the ultimate thing. Because if we live in this system of constantly seeing time as money and being absolutely as efficient as possible, we are bound to dishonor people, because people are just not always going to be the most efficient on paper use of our time, right? But like I said, we hold attention there because as creatives, as business owners, and not just hobbyists in what it is that we do, we have to think about the purpose of a business. And like I said earlier, I think a lot of creatives and business owners sometimes lose sight of that. The purpose of our businesses isn't just to do what we love. It isn't just to make a difference. But if we are in business, the purpose is to turn a profit. We want to make more money than we put into the business, hopefully a lot more. Again, that would be the profit. And your time also has to be invested accordingly. So this is why it is so very important that you figure out your hourly rate. I got obsessed with knowing my hourly rate back when I worked in corporate marketing because it was how we would bill our clients, and it was really a cool benchmark for me to be able to see, what my time was worth to each client. But I love having it in my small business now. If you've never ever figured out your hourly rate before as a business owner, I got your back. Look down below and you'll find a little bit more information about my Art of Efficiency program. In that, we dig deep into trying to figure out your own hourly rates. You can use that as a benchmark in your business. There's also a link to a free masterclass where I give you a little bit more of a crash course in figuring out your hourly rate. Step number 3, create a spending plan for the upcoming year. Okay, so once you know your hourly rate, congratulations. That is a huge step that you have taken in figuring out how to make your business more profitable. But to make that all work, you actually need a money plan in place to make this all work. Now, y'all know, if you've been around for a minute, that I am a big believer in my sweet friend Shanna Skidmore's program, the Blueprint Model. That is what we run our business on, and it's how we set forth a revenue and a financial plan in the business, and how I figured out how to pay myself regularly, which I was not doing before working through the program. In a nutshell, here's the gist of calculating a spending plan. Like I said, you can either work with somebody to figure this out, or you can try to figure it out on your own if you are savvy enough in that department. The first thing you want to do is reverse engineer your numbers. Essentially, you need to define what enough is for you, and then you need to work backwards from that to figure out what it is that you have to go out there and market and sell. The second thing is to establish a money plan for your business. This helps me see exactly how many clients I need to book every single year. I went from booking upwards of, I think it was like 50 or so clients, to just working with 7 on my own. That was huge. Now, I will say I also brought in a team to help me figure out how to service the other ones and contribute maybe less of my hours. Remember, I knew my hourly rate, and that helped me come off of that a little bit. But instead of saying yes to everybody and working constantly until midnight every night, I was able to step down from that. Again, back to the surprising idea of cutting down on things to make more money. Finally, you have the plan, you work the plan. That's really it. I also reverse engineer my marketing and my content calendar for the year just to book those spots. So I know I'm not trying to get every single fish out there in the sea. Instead, I know my enough. I know the numbers that I need to hit. I go out there and I hit those numbers, and then I get to rest. Again, don't miss that free video training all about how to bring the basics back for financials in your own business. Look down below, hop in. I promise those videos are going to be very valuable trainings that are going to help you figure out some of this stuff on your own. Okay, that brings me to step number 4, building in ways to rest and slow down. Okay, so if we're going to fully lean into this idea that you can cut down on things in order to make more money, then a big part of that is going to be stepping away from your business and giving yourself white space to think and process. That's truly how we can recharge and get ready to get back in there. I wanted to tell you 6 quick ways I have practiced doing that in my own business. The first is plotting out kind of around Wednesday or Thursday what my weekend is gonna look like. I establish anchors, I go through and I try to figure out what I can do that weekend to really rest. If you're a student inside my Art of Efficiency program, you know that you've been through this worksheet and you've figured out how to do this on your own. Number 2, we plan for and take an annual sabbatical. I'm obsessed with doing that. I love it so very much. I've talked about that at length on my blog and stuff, so I'm not gonna dive too much into it today, but I love it. I look forward to it every single year. Number 3, I take 1 full day off of work every single week. Now, this was a big 2018 goal for me because in the past, I always just let some things sneak up. I never really had one day where I fully stepped away from it. I do want to say too, pregnancy threw a little bit of a wrench in things. There were seasons and times this year, for example, back to sabbatical when I was prepping for that, I had to work a few Sundays to make sure that that sabbatical could actually happen. And then again, when I was prepping to go on maternity leave, I had to do the same thing. But by and large, that was a huge shift for me that I hadn't really done before. I'd worked 24/7, 365 as an entrepreneur, but I learned I need that one day off a week at least, if not more. Number 4, I try to take 1 hour off a day, 1 day off a week, and 1 week off a year from social media. That is from some book. If you know that book and want to mention it below, that would be great because I have not read it and I would love to read it, but I heard that concept. Obviously didn't make it up and I think it's great. Number 5, I proudly don't do a lot of things. I have blogged about things that I don't do. And also my Art of Efficiency insiders know that I'm really big on figuring out that 20% that you can do and only you can do. We also make a list called the It's Thursday list. It's Thursday, quit something, said Bob Goff. How can you trim down and say no to things? Finally, number 6, I mentioned this earlier, but really trimming down on my personal clients and figuring out ways that we can bring in streams of revenue that aren't just me trading dollars for hours. I hope you've seen this surprising way to make more money in your business truly is by trimming down on things. Trim down on your product line. See how you can trim down on your time, on the number of clients that you serve. I promise that it works out if you're doing it well with a financial plan in place. So again, if you don't have any kind of financial plan, I would encourage you to get in that video series where you're gonna learn some great tips to bringing back the basics. You can also grab that freebie I told you about. That will be available for you as well. And if you found all of this helpful today, I would appreciate a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. I'll see you back next week. I'll bring in all new training and see you then.